So, this is a recap of Empire of Storms by Sarah J Maas. This is only that. I did, however, tandem read Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn because I feel like everybody needs to know, I've probably mentioned it before, but it was basically my entire personality for like 2 weeks, or like however long it took. Sorry, I just my seat a little. Yeah, but this is just the recap on this. Okay, so she's chunky. Okay, how many? I got a tab in there. Don't mind that. Don't mind that. I feel like I want to be a girl that tabs. Do you know what I mean? And I'm still working on it. 689 pages. But I was reading these simultaneously. Okay, you can find loads of trackers. I use one from TikTok, but you can find them in a bunch of places, which shows you like how to read them. And I did kind of look ridiculous having like holding 2 books, but that's beside the point. We're going to put that one aside because I will be doing a recap on that too. Also, the elephant in the room, I do have other clothes. In fact, I have too many clothes. My wardrobes don't really shut. But this is comfortable and I wanted to wear this. This recap is going to be slightly unhinged and I fear it might be long, so really I need to shut up. I will be doing a shorter recap probably towards the end. That's usually the... it's raining. Please stop raining. So the lighting's going to be terrible, but we'll work with it. I usually do a shorter recap at the end, so we'll see how it goes. I'm not really sure how coherent I am to be. Hello, zoom in. I have some notes, so it may look like I'm reading part of the time, because I am. Because there's a lot of information that happens in this book, and especially in coinciding with Tower of Dawn, it's insane. So me and my not much Vietnamese coffee left, I put a bit too much condensed milk in, so it's quite sweet. So I'm feeling a little bit hyper, are going to be a bit insane. But let's see how this goes. As with all of the Sarah J Maas books, after a certain point, it feels like we're switching between a lot of timelines because we're trying to get everybody all together in one place. I'm assuming, I haven't finished that book yet, but everybody in the right place for the last book, or at least the latter half of the last book. So in this book, we're focusing more on Aelin and Rowan and Elodie and like Aidan, Lysandra, all them guys. So you won't really hear much from Cal and Nazrin in this book because they're off somewhere else. So where we pick up from in Empire of Storms is a flashback, which is Elena and Gavin. So Elena is the queen who gives Elena's eye in the very first Throne of Glass book, and she and Gavin are going to do something really out there because they want to defeat Erewhon, or however you say his name, but they kind of know that they won't be able to defeat him, but they need to be able to, like, they come up with this crazy plan because they're like, no one's coming to save us, so this is what we need to do. So that's like the flashback. And then we go to Elodie, and is that her name? Elodie, and she's basically looking for Aelin and Selena because she thinks that they're 2 separate people, because Caitlin, who was the one who like destroyed all of Marath, has given this like weird like mysterious stone thing, which she said, give this to Selena and tell her that this is the key. But obviously at this point, Elodie doesn't know that Selena and Aelin are the same people. And also she's not thriving, okay? She's having a hard time. She's like trying to make her way north to Terrasen, and she just doesn't really know what's going on. And then we skip to Lorcan, so he's one of Maid's Blood Oath people. He spots Elodie, and he can tell that she's from Marath because of the way that she scents, and he wants to question her, but he's basically just watching her and like hunting her essentially. So we're kind of flicking back and forth between those two for a little bit. Meanwhile, Aelin, Rowan, Aidan, and Lysandra have travelled to a secret meeting which was called by Aidan, and he's basically told all the lords to come together so that they can have a meeting to help restore Terrasen and the court. So the lords, Ren, Morto, Darrow, they're all there, but Darrow is the main guy, and he is not happy with the Aelin's court, and he basically tells her that, listen, we don't accept you as the Queen of Terrasen. And they all basically sign a document without even meeting her, so this is before they've even met, to say that they don't recognise her as the queen. She basically is like, listen, your document means nothing to me. And she's like, this is basically like war, like this means nothing. At the same time, Aidan and his army, the Bane, said that they're going to follow her into battle with Erewhon. And Darrow says that the Bane are at the discretion of the Lords of Terrasen. Even though they know that in reality they're going to listen to Aidan. But that's what he says. And then Darrow says, are you going to find some allies? And then he's like, maybe you should like marry to foreign royalty, not to Rowan though, because he can see there's like a little thingy there. And then she's just like, whatever. And then so after the meeting, a messenger comes that says that the Iron Teeth witches are flying to Rifthold to attack, and Rowan is the only one who would be able to go and save Dorian and go to Skull's Bay, so he's the one that ships off. So at the same time, Manon is been called to a meeting by Vernon and Duke Perrington, and now Erewhon has like completely taken over the Duke's body, so he's in the Duke's body now, and it's like he's not even trying to hide, basically. And he tells Manon that you need to attack Rifthold and bring Dorian to him if Dorian survives. Dorian, at the same time, in Rifthold, sees the witches coming on the Wyvern, and they're like ransacking the city, but they're also heading straight for his tower. He does fight some of the witches, but his like powers aren't super strong because he hasn't had much time to like hone them. And Manon comes in and tries to tell him to escape, and now he's like, oh, I owe you a life debt, essentially, because she basically kills another witch. So now she's a witch killer. And Rowan comes, and he's basically flown for 2 whole days without food. So this just goes to show how big this flipping continent is. I just didn't understand. But he's too late to save Rifthold. But he takes Dorian and he leaves. Manon, like I said, she kills one of the yellow legs and allows Rowan to kill the other 4 to save Dorian. So basically she's not doing what she's been told to do. Back with Lorcan and Elodie, there's these like weird like dog people monsters that are there hunting Elodie, and Lorcan is there when that happens. So they run together since they have a common enemy, and they get separated during the fight, but Lorcan fights with his sword and Elodie uses her little smarts, whatever, and tricks it into attacking Lorcan instead of her, so that's quite funny. But they're being chased, and Lorcan basically just picks Elodie up because of her like injured foot and like makes a run for it with his like demi-fae speed. I keep forgetting that he's a demi-fae and he's not even like fully fae like the other Blood Oath people are. Then Manon and her 13 return to Morath, and then there's a small trial that's conducted because Dorian escapes, and the Yellow Legs leader is like, there's been foul play here. Manon's killed a witch, but Manon says that she attacked her. And then they were like, okay, whatever. And then there's like a whole thing, and they decide, okay, but we still need a life for a life, so we're going to sentence your second to death because we can't kill you. So her second is Astrid. And then Astrid tells Manon on how she'd fallen in love with that mortal man and had a child, but Manon's grandmother had killed the man and the baby and then beaten Astrid almost to death, and then she like branded her like on her stomach. Meanwhile, at the same time, Aelin, Aidan and Lysandra arrive by sea, and they by sea to a kingdom, and they go to the monument which contains Brennan, and then Aelin reveals that part of her plan is calling in her old debts. Now this is where Assassin's Blade comes in, because Assassin's Blade is where a lot of her old debts are formed. So that's when she's bringing all the people in. So you'll find out later like who comes in, but just know that the old debts are being called in. They manage to get passage onto a ship, and the captain tells them that Maeve's fleet is moving. Lysandra is like a bit suspicious of the gods having a role in everything, and that she feels like Aelin and Dorian need to like reunite the world or like something like that to bring peace. Aelin, Aidan, Lysandra, this little trio, defeat the Ilium soldiers at the temple, and Aelin burns one of the men from literally inside out. And then she raids the temple at Brannan's request and sends a private message to the little people of the forest. And then Aelin asks Brennan's ghost how to kill Maeve, but he's like, I don't know. And Brennan tells her that she needs to find the lock in the stone. You know what that means? To sink the word keys into the door, and then they'll be away forever. Aidan, meanwhile, doing his cousinly duty, is eavesdropping. And then a troop of men are led by Endover guards, and they appear, and there's like a little battle, and he says that they went to show her what's waiting if they ever make it to Morath. Erewhon is hiding in the body of one of the men, so now it seems like he can just like switch to whatever. And he knows that Rowan has been rescued by Dorian, and he says that his soldiers are... No, Rowan rescued Dorian, and he knows that he's saying that soldiers are tracking them. So Aelin starts burning the body that Erewhon is speaking from with her magic, but he like somehow like attacks her, and he misses the amulet that she's wearing by just a few inches, but he sensed it, so now he knows that she's got it. And it's one of the missing puzzle pieces as to like how to open the door and like rule the world. Back in Morath, Astrid arrives because she's been like beaten up, and it's the morning of her execution. And Manon's grandmother is going to allow like more clan members to beat her before the execution, but Manon refuses to stand by and let this happen. So she says that, listen, this is my duty, and I'm going to be the one who executes her. Like, it's my right. And her grandmother is like really angry with this, because she knows that Manon will kill her cleanly and that she won't suffer, and she wants Astrid to be tortured. And then she knows that Astrid could tell Manon's secrets and be free, but she decides not to, and she stays quiet. And then Astrid whispers to Manon to like where to bury her body, which is essentially going to be with the hunter guy that she was in love with. And Manon draws her sword, but instead of executing Astrid, she slashes her grandma, and then there's like a fight, and the grandmother reveals that Manon's father was actually a Cochrane prince. So Manon is half Cochrane and half Blackbeak or Iron Teeth, whatever. And this is like a major thing, because the way you become, like the whole time, all of the Iron Teeth are hunting down the Cochranes and like killing them off, and Manon has done this, and now she's realizing she was one of them. So Manon is hit in the stomach by her grandmother's nails, and she's like bleeding, but she purposefully falls off the side of the cliff, and then her Abroxius, that one, catches her, and they fly off, and then 2 of Manon's 13 are waiting on their wyvern in case she got away. They take off with the yellow leg witches, sorry, that's a real tongue twister, following like really closely behind, and they basically are like a diversion essentially. And then Manon gives secret orders to her 13 people, because they are one, they are a clan no matter what anybody else says, and Manon is their leader. So she gives them a thing that she goes, if things went wrong, they all had to fly away on their wyvern and they would meet up later. Meanwhile, Elodie and Lorcan arrive in a town, and basically they plan to link up with Selena. Obviously, Lorcan knows that Aelin and Selena are one person, but Elodie does not, and so she hasn't put 2 and 2 together yet. And in this like tavern, they find this like, it's basically like a traveling group, kind of like a circus. and they said that they'll pay a toll if they can perform with them, so basically they're just using them as a cover. Meanwhile, Rowan and Dorian are going to go to Skulls Bay, again, note from Assassin's Blade, and they're going to go and meet with Captain Rolfe, and Captain Rolfe has told them like what's been happening, that what he's known to have happened in Morath recently, and that some of his men were captured and changed, and Rowan tells Rolfe about Erewhon's plan and says, listen, join us. Rolfe does not say anything, but he calls in two of his men. Who are they? Flippin, Gavriel and Fenris. And as we now know, Rowan knows that Gavriel is actually Aidan's father. And it's not good because they're bloodsworn to Maeve, so they're like ready to like capture Aelin and all of that. And they tell them that Maeve is sending her armada to El Wali, that's where Naima was from. And there's a big argument. Rolfe said he's not going to talk to them until the Queen arrives. Gavriel says that they've been sent by Maeve to kill Lorcan, because Lorcan is the one who like left, but he's still supporting the Queen, but he's doing things that are like against her orders because he thinks that he's protecting her. So obviously Maeve's like, nah, we need to cut him. Anyway, so that's what they're supposed to be doing, and he says that it's like a battle that they've talked about for a while, and like Lorcan has crossed path with them when he was looking for Aelin. Rowan tells him that he knows Gavriel's son. Gavriel didn't know he had a son, so he's like shooketh. Maeve has heard of Gavriel's son, and she's saying that the deal is off and that she has everything in her power to control Gavriel's son. At the same time, Aelin and Aidan are on a ship headed for Skulls Bay, and Lysandra in her shape-shifting form is like being the watcher. Manon is in the forest and she's injured, and the only person she has, if you can consider it a person, but Abrox is there. One of Erewhon's little minions come, and Manon poisons the Bloodhound and manages to escape. Durin is still training, both physically and magically, with Rowan as they wait in Skulls Bay for any news about Aelin, or of course Dorian's mother and brother, who apparently Erewhon wants to lead Ardalan, now that Dorian is gone. This whole time I've had suspicions about what the flip. They keep mentioning, I think his name's Hollin, they keep mentioning him and nothing's come of it, and I'm like, something bad's gonna happen, and I can just sense it. I can just feel it in my bones. Durin is like growing really impatient, so they make a fake letter that tells of big news, and Rolfe sees this and then says that I need to speak to them now. And then we get to the office. Aelin is there. And she acts like she's still Selena, so she hasn't said that she's the queen yet, and she's like flirting with Rowan, and she teases Rolfe, and then Rolfe commands the Fae to kill her to win royalty, but then Aelin introduces the other Aelin, so Aelin's still pretending to be Selena, introduces the other Aelin, which is Lysandra in disguise as Aelin, and says that she's going to change into her like normal human form, and then Aelin challenges Rolfe to join them, and if he does, she'll make him the king of the pirates, because she's the queen now. Gavriel's like, sis, where's my son? I want to see Aidan, because he didn't come. Aelin's like, I'm not going to tell you where he is, because she's not sure if Aidan wants to meet him right now, so she's like, he'll meet him on his own terms, like, you can wait all this time. So then Aelin, Rowan and Dorian meet to swap information, and they think that they need this map that Rolfe's got, but she needs to convince him to work with them. Back with the carnival people, Elodie and Lorcan are travelling with them, and they're pretending to be like a newly married couple, and they're both using each other essentially, because she needs him to know more about Selena and Aelin and like how to get further north and stuff like that, but he needs her because he wants more descriptions about Morath and everything like that. So they're asking each other a bunch of questions, and then he says like, why do you want to find Aelin? And then he tells her, even though he doesn't already know, he already knows, he says that Selena Sardothian is in the employ of Aelin. He hasn't told her that they're the same people. And then they're basically forced to sleep in the same tent for the first time, and then Lorcan gets like water for Elodie's bath and like stands guard I'm sorry, here you can see the connection that's being made here. He like washes her clothes and like all of this stuff, but then he also picks up that she's taking off this necklace and stowing it under like her mattress because of his fey hearing, but he doesn't know what it is. So in exchange for the bath, Elodie shares information with her, with Lorcan, and basically tells him like, my uncle is Vernon and he's the commander of Morath, and that he'd locked her in a dungeon all this time. And Lorcan said like, do you want me to kill him? And then she's like, what will it cost? And he's like, nothing. Listen, they're not my favourite characters, I'll just say that. Lorcan especially, not a big fan, but that was kind of cute, you know what I mean? It's like the I would do anything for you, like touch her and you die vibes. Anyway, and then Elodie tells Lorcan about the breeding experiments that were happening in Morath, and that Vernon was going to use her to see if his bloodline could mix with the Valgs. Lorcan, like, says that the explosion was no accident. Elodie confirms it, but doesn't say who did the explosion. Meanwhile, Aelin and Rowan talk with Fenris and Gabrielle about Maeve and like how the bond works and like what she might be planning. Obviously, none of them trust each other, so the amount of information that's actually exchanged is quite limited. But one progress point we do see is that Aiden does go to meet Gabrielle at breakfast, but he's quite angry with what became of his mother, so it doesn't actually go very well. Aiden and Lysandra leave to talk it out, and Aiden said he's afraid that he might have ruined the chance to work with the Fae because of his anger, but Lysandra's like, don't worry, that's not happened. Rolf tells Aelin and Rowan that Morath's fleet is sailing for Elwally, and Aelin knows that it's a retaliation for what she did at Ilium, because she knows that they know that she cared about Ilwali, if that's how you if that's how you say it. And then yeah, he's basically striking there because she loved Nima as a friend. And then Aelin asks Rolf if he can send one of his fleets to Elwally, and she promises to give him back Ilium if he does. Then these like alarm bells goes off. Rolf's looking at the map in the hand and showing that the Valg are coming, and they're searching for something. Searching for Aelin because of the surge of power that she sent out. She's like, I didn't do that. And then they leave. They are going to leave unless Rolf helps. Basically, it's quite sneaky. She's basically called the Valg there, and she's like, I'm going to leave and not help you if you don't help me. So obviously he has to agree because he wants a Lord's title and all of that. Dorian knows that Aelin's lied and that she did do the power surge, and then they make plans to save it, and Aelin wants to sail in the fleet centre. Lysandra shifts into a sea dragon because now she can do that. Aelin and Rowan join their power on a boat because they're I can't remember exactly the word, but they've got that thing, that connection that they can make. And so she reaches deep into the power and changes into Malala through the word Mala through the word key. Aelin throws her mind and body and like falls into the sea, but Fenris rescues her, and then Lysandra fights off the sea wyverns, and the last one escapes and is swimming towards Aelin and the men, but Lysandra gets a mental message from Aelin to swim away, and then the 3 adult sea wyverns are swimming towards her. She fights off the first 2, but the third can strikes Lysandra like with like a killing blow, but essentially. And Aiden, this is actually, I believe, the part where I tapped the book. Aiden kills one with a harpoon from the watchtower, and then he makes a promise that he's going to marry Lysandra one day, and he doesn't care when it is, but he knows it's going to happen. He knows that she can't respond in her sea dragon form, but he says it anyway. And then Aelin and Rowan want to meet Rolf, but they discover that the cost of the map tattoos was something he didn't realise he was bargaining for, which was the life of his mother and his sister, like way when he was younger. So Aelin needs to get out of town, and Rowan follows her, and then they have their first intimacy on the beach. Which, to be honest, I was really surprised, because this whole time they were talking about how they wanted it to be like in like a safe sort of like enclosed place on the beach. Anyway, and then the group all come together, and Elena appears to them, and she tells them that the lock is the center of the is in the center of the Temple Marsh. Why can't I talk? And that her mother had given her life to preserve it, and then Gavin and Elena used it years ago to seal Erewhon instead of killing him like they'd claimed to. So that's how we find out Erewhon comes back. Elena also shares that who her mother is, which is Malala Firebringer, which is Aylin's relative, and they take off in their ship for the marshes. And then they see Manon riding towards them on Abroxus, and she's unconscious and she falls into the sea. Elodie and Lorcan are now performing. So Elodie is a fortune teller and Lorcan is a sword player. Lorcan is quite popular, and they now begin to realise that they're quite attracted to each other. But then demons attack their camp looking for Elodie, and they tell Lorcan what her real name is, because she hasn't, this whole time she's been using her mother's name, so he didn't know that that's who she was. And he tells a demon that she's not that, even though he does know. And then he confronts Elodie after the whole thing has happened, and that's when they share the truth about their backgrounds. And then Manon wakes up on the ship with Aylin watching her, and Aylin tells her, don't run away, don't hurt anyone, whatever. Dorian is there and wakes up when she wakes up later, and she tells him why her injuries have happened and asks him to find her 13. Back with Elodie and Lorcan, they go to several taverns looking for news about Aylin, but some carnival companions give them away, and then Lorcan hears like the people coming for them, but they manage to escape on a boat where Lorcan kills the captain, even though Elodie's furious because she said that she wouldn't let anything happen to him. But something triggers in Lorcan, and he examines the amulet that Aylin gave him, and then he realizes that it's fake, because this whole time he thought it was real. So he steers the ship towards Al-Wali, because that's the best lead they have about where the hell Aylin is. And then Aylin wakes up on fire, and Rowan has to pull her back, and he has to say sorry for panicking that Malala had taken over her again. And again, they're intimate, so now it's happening all the flipping time. And then Dorian goes into Manon's cabin late at night, and she basically wants to be unchained, so she's trying to get them to trust her, and also she's decided she wants Dorian now, so that's super interesting. He doesn't do that, he kind of teases her, and the next day Dorian tells Aylin, come on, let's unchain her now, like let her at least go on the ship, whatever. But then we find out that there's an imposter, one of Erewhon's minions sent for Manon, and he reveals her as the Cochrane Queen, and Dorian kills him. Manon is super angry, but she rushes to the upper deck, and there's like a big fight, and one of the creatures reveals that Aylin and Erewhon know she has the word keys, but many of them are injured, and Fenris is injured too badly that he can't heal himself, so Aylin has to. Then sorry, this is getting real long. I didn't realise how flippin' long this book was. Gabriel admits he only left Aidan and because of because of Aidan's mother's request, and he would have stayed and loved them, but he loved her too much that when she said he wanted him to go, he did, and so they're all having some major revelations. And then something Fenris says sparks a memory, and Aylin asks Manon if some witches can see the future, and Manon confirms that some can and act as oracles. And then she remembers what Baba Yellowlegs said to Aylin before she killed her all that time ago. She runs away and locks herself in the bathroom, and then she's sick over and over again. And then Rowan is worried, of course, because why is she doing that? And Aylin asks him, can you go and get Lysandra? Lorcan and Elodie stop to get supplies, but they get separated, and then when they're separated, Elodie is cornered by her uncle Vernon, and then he takes her to this box that he's going to carry her back to Morath in, but Lorcan grabs her uncle's knives and moves to Lorcan sees Elodie grab her uncle's knife and move to kill herself, but he helps her fight her way out instead. And then they're back on the ship to continue. The ship sails to Elwally, which is burning. Elwally is burning. And then Aylin and Rowan try to put out the fires as they sail by it, and Rowan has to ask her if she's pregnant, and she says, I'm not. That's not why she fled to the bathroom that night. and then because when she was throwing up, he thought that she might be, but she's not. And then the group has a couple more days of the journey. At the same time, Lorcan and Elodie are also getting close to the marshes. Them two are having their own thing. They actually kiss at one point, but then says that they need to run because Lorcan says they need to run because there's like a big army of demons coming. And then Manon notices the Eye of Alina necklace thing that Aylin's wearing, and she says it has a different meaning to the witches, and she tells about the Cochrane Wars and the resulting curse on the witches. And then Gabrielle and Fenris warn Rowan that they think that Aylin and Manon have been pushed together here by an unknown force, and that this isn't a good thing, and that they think that he should actually take Aylin away before it's too late, because they tell him who Maeve put in his place, which is Cairn, which is a really horrible male, cruel man that Rowan was never able to train. And then Aiden questions Aylin, like power and like lack of consultation with him, and Rowan says that they have to like make a plan, so the Fae start making their own plans. This is the problem here. Everybody's just making plans without discussing it with each other. And then Aylin wants to shoot first at their enemy, so she goes ahead with the others. When Lorcan and Elodie arrive, he senses Aylin's power, and he throws a magical shield over the two of them. And her power easily overwhelms the demons, and Lorcan has like never seen anything like that. So then the lion and the white wolf attack Lorcan. That's Fenris and Gabrielle, if people didn't realise. Elodie jumps in the way, and the wolf accidentally catches onto, which is Fenris. Yes, latches onto her arm, and Fenris and Gabrielle can heal her if Lorcan takes down the shield. Gabrielle and Fenris stop themselves from trying to kill Lorcan because of the blood oath, or they can't stop themselves because of the blood oath, but he drops his shield. And then Rowan says that it's an act of war against Aylin if they continue their battle with Lorcan. So that kind of is a loophole to the whole blood oath thing. And if they kill Lorcan, it will affect Maeve. So they all decide, okay, that this is a loophole we can work by. And so Lorcan runs to Elodie's side. Elodie gives Aylin the stone from Caitlin, and Manon introduces Dorian as the king of Ardalan. Aylin thanks Lorcan for bringing Elodie and tells Manon that she claims her as a member of her court. Rowan notices a difference in Lorcan, and Dorian wonders if the gods have like brought them all here for a reason. And then Aylin opens a chest, but there's no lock inside. Instead, it's an ancient mirror with the eye of Elena in the corner. And then Manon tells them about the witches' like powers, and the witch towers, and that they're using mirror weapons that could destroy them and stuff like that. And then the Fae males carry the mirror like between them. Everyone's exhausted. They arrive to the coast and they see 1,000 ships, which is Melisandre's fleet, and the soldiers are already on shore. Aylin surprises everyone by striding directly towards them. And who's the troop leader? Ansel of Brightcliff. Remember her from the Silent Assassins and Assassin's Blade, who she met ages ago in the desert. Ansel bought all the ships and all the warriors as per Aylin's request as her life debt, and Ansel and her army from the way sacked Melisandre's army and brought them to Aylin as well. Aiden and Lysandra want to start a relationship but decide to begin a friendship instead, and then they sail north. They're going to sail north to protect Terrason. But then Ansel says it's Maeve, not Erewhon, who's setting all these fires and just trying to make it look like it's Aylin. And then Rowan tells the army that Aylin's assembled, how he loves it when she surprises him. And then Dorian visits Manon in her room at night, and Lorcan and Elodie talk quietly in the night from their hammocks on the deck. So it's like all these like cute relationships before like the major thing. And so another armada is heading towards them, and it's Maeve's, and they know that she'll wait for daylight because she wants to ask Aylin to surrender so everyone can see it. Aylin falls asleep, and Rowan flies to one of Maeve's ships one by one, requesting his cousins on board if they'll like stand down or like help or whatever, and they all just say they'll consider it. Dorian tells Aylin and Manon, no, he doesn't tell them. He takes them down to the mirrors to show them something. He thinks that Deanna's riddles about it suggest that Aylin and Manon can use it to see the future and to see how they are going to defeat Maeve and use the key. So them two join hands, and disappear into the mirror. Aelin is furious. Rowan says that they'll continue to get ready for the battle, and Maeve send messages asking for their surrender. And Rowan says that the Queen is not on the ship to answer. He asks for safe passage for both the fleets as they pass by, and Maeve answers by just shooting arrows at them, so that's a no then. And then Aelin and Manon are in the past and they're watching Gavin and Elena, and they see that Elena uses the stone in the eye of Elena, and so they know it's a lock, and that she uses it to seal Erewhon in the mountain, and she distracted Erewhon with Gavin, who's injured, and she can now like lock them all up. And Erewhon's minion tells Elena that she was foolish to use the blue stone, which is like a small witch mirror, to lock up Erewhon. Instead, it was supposed to be used to unite the keys and eventually send them all back home from where they came. And she says that she will be giving them anything, that she will give them anything to undo, to give like somebody else who's more prepared a bit longer to sort this all out. So the demons look at Gavin and they say that she will have to lead Marla's bloodline again, and they'll have to bleed again and use Marla's gifts to forge the locks, and Elena will be leading them. So basically they just went, oh, that's a problem for someone else in the future. That's essentially what happened. And then that they would that she would have to give up every drop of Malala's bloodline would have to give up every drop of their bloodline, of their life force, to do it and send them back home and eternally like seal them and like lock them up. Gavin only heard her words and asked like, what deal did you strike? And she just says that the deal will be paid in the future. And then we find that Nima, the princess of Alwali, approaches the chest, and Elena greets her, and Nima thinks that she's there to pay the price to save them. Elena says, it's not you, hun, it has to be somebody from Marla's bloodline who must pay it, and that must be either Dorian or Aelin, because now we find out that they're related as well, so that's a bit messy for book one, isn't it? I was gobsmacked when I saw that. And then she tells her that you need to go north because the two houses will converge there. So this is talking about prior to when the events of Throne of Glass took place, so Naima basically knew what she needed to do. And Elena tells her it's necessary, but that she will basically have to pay the price of her life to like move the story along. So Nima knew the whole time she was going to have to die. While Aelin's gone in the reality world, the battle is happening. Lysandra fights as like this like modified sea dragon, and she's attacking the ships that are marked by Rowan. And then they realise that some of Maeve's ships are flying different flags. They're flying the silver whitethorn flags, which is the flag of Rowan's family. So these ships begin firing on their own fleets. So they are helping. So it's all the ships that Rowan had gone and asked his cousins to help him with. Lorican notices that Maeve isn't actually on any of her ships, and he sees her on shore where he left Elodie with a few guards for safety. Aelin and Manon see glimpses of like what would happen, Elena's fight with her father, about what she'd done, her choice to live out her life as a mortal with Gavin, and Brennan like forging and hiding the 3 word keys and like labeling them in the room with word keys, and hiding the last one in Marla's temple, and then ascending into the fiery abyss for eternity, and the last Cochrane queen helps as well. Elena apologizes to Aelin that it's now she who must pay for her mistakes, and Elena realizes that Elena saved her. Their names are so similar. Aelin realizes that Elena saved her that night just so that she could die years later. So that is a Harry Potter moment if I've ever heard one. Anyway, Elena says that she had enough strength back then, but Elena couldn't bear to let her die just yet. So she revives Aelin and awakes the nearest adult. That's back when, you know, she was attacked ages ago, and the nearest adult was a Robin Hamill. So that's how that all got put into place. And then Elena pays for this with her soul, so she won't get to spend the rest of the eternity with her husband or her children in like the afterlife or whatever. Aelin asks why. Elena says, I wanted her to grow up, be strong, experience love and all of that, and even if it is just briefly, before she has to like give it up. So Elena says that the mirror's power is almost expired, but she tells them what they need to do, and then it will all be over. So then Aelin and Manon arrive back into reality. They land near Maeve, who has Elodie over her knee. The battle is really bad, except even though Rowan's cousin are helping. At this point, Manon's 13 arrive, with Aberox leading the way. Hold up, lost my space. And they're going to help. And Maeve reveals that she's planned everything that has happened recently, just so that she could deplete Aelin's magic. And so now it's in low. So she's going to attack, and then fire explodes around them, and Aelin attacks Maeve, and Lorcan uses this opportunity to kill the guards and rescue Elodie. He wants her to run, but she doesn't want to be a coward, and Maeve's like dark power lashes at Aelin, and Maeve only stands a chance because Aelin is so depleted. And then Elodie begs Manon to help Aelin as Maeve is gaining the upper hand, and then Fenris and Gabrielle arrive. All of Aelin's magic is basically gone, and the battle is still going on in the distance, by the way, and Maeve tells Manon that she's free to go if she stays out of the fight. Manon agrees. Gabrielle begs Maeve to leave Aelin alone and to let them all go home, but Maeve like shouts at him for not killing Lorcan on sight like they were ordered to, and then Gabrielle says like, take my life instead of Aelin's, but Maeve's like, no. And then Aelin's wondered if the offer to spare Aiden the pain, and then she wonders if that's why Gabrielle says that, because he knows, even though Gabrielle is Aiden's father, he thinks that Aiden doesn't really care about him and cares more about Aelin, so he's like, I'll just sacrifice myself, I guess. Oh yeah, and then Maeve severs his blood oath and says, whatever, you don't have a title anymore, bye. And then Maeve tells Aelin that she would lead her to all the 3 word keys. She saw it, she saw her mate Rowan, she knew their children would be powerful enough to rule the world, so that's why she needs to get the hands on the keys when she was strong enough. And we also find out that Maeve gave Rowan his first mate, which was Lyra, I think her name was, and had her get pregnant just for her to then kill her and the child that they were with. So Rowan thought he was mated to someone else, but he never was. It was all fake. And then she basically ensured that their paths would cross when Aelin was of age, and she knew Aelin would give her whatever she wanted if she manipulated things the right way. Maeve couldn't believe that they were so broken that they didn't even recognise each other as mates for so long, because Aelin had actually known it since the battle with Manon at the temple like months ago, but she decided not to tell Rowan, and she tells Aelin that she would have had 1,000 years with him, and probably like she was like 5 years from like settling into her fae form, because she didn't know all of that. And then Maeve calls for Ken, who's like the newly appointed Blood Oath guy, and Maeve says to Aelin, you have to come willingly, because if you struggle, she's going to bring Elodie along with them. Maeve orders Lorcan and Fenris to be perfectly still by the blood bond. Aelin then has to surrender, and she gives Elodie a message to give to Aiden and Rowan. So Maeve makes Aelin bow before her, this was really horrible, take off her shirt so that Ken can give her 10 lashes, and she orders Aelin to count. She's like, I'm not counting. So Maeve keeps making the 10 lashes restart over and over again. So, but then they hear the others approaching, so they stop the beating to leave, and they put Aelin in this metal box with iron chains and put an iron mask over her, because that's supposed to like nullify the magic. And then Aelin slipped the word keys into Manon's pocket as she walked past, so Manon knows that she needs to get them and Elodie as far away from everything, which is why when Elodie was saying to Manon, you can help, Manon could not help because she knew that she had this bigger responsibility. And then this box is carried towards Maeve's boat, and Maeve orders Fenris to follow them, but she releases Lorcan from the blood bond too, and like without his title, and then the boat disappears. She's left without the word keys, even though she doesn't realise that the word keys were there the whole time. We don't know if she thinks Aelin has them at the time, but she at least knows that she knows where it was. So then we get to the end. Rowan arrives at the beach, and he puts a knife to Lorcan's throat, and he says, where is my wife? Yes, you heard that correctly. They got married at some point. It's crazy. And then he's furious with Lorcan for giving the location away, because to Maeve, but apparently Aelin had known this the whole time. I don't know how she was finding stuff out, but she was. And Aelin tells not Aelin, no, Elodie tells Rowan that Aelin is his mate and about the whipping in the box and basically everything that happened on the beach. And then they're mad because, you know, remember when Aelin had run to the bathroom and asked for Lysandra? Lysandra had known this whole time because Aelin asked her to help, and she basically told her how to seal the keys and the gate and banish Erewhon, and she basically told Lysandra that you need to shift into me, and all of that, because I need you to basically pretend to be me to continue this line. And that's why she'd also married Rowan, because then there would be an heir. But then there was this crazy plan that she needed to pretend, and that she was gonna father children, that they were gonna have children and pretend that they were the heirs, and the way that they were gonna do that is because she knew that, sorry, this was really mind-boggling to me. She knew that Lysandra and Aidan kind of liked each other, so she was gonna get Aidan to like have father the children so that the children looked like Ashbyers, and it was crazy. It was crazy. So she was gonna, I feel like I haven't explained this properly, but Lysandra was gonna shift to look like Aelin. Aelin had married Rowan so that nobody could like doubt the airing, the siring of children. But obviously then the children need to look alike, so to sire the children it would be Lysandra and Aidan. That is the biggest con I've ever seen in my life. Anyway, then Elodie tells Lorcan that she hopes he lives alone forever. She's really sassy at this point, and she decides she's going to go with Manon at 13. And then Manon asks if they've heard what her grandmother said about her being half like Cochrane and the last surviving Cochrane queen. And Manon says that they now owe their life debt to Aelin, and it's time to be better than their ancestors. And they're going to rally the whole, whatever the Cochranes are left, to fight for Aelin. And she tells them that at this point that she has the last two keys, and not the last two, she has two of the word keys, and she tells Dorian that Elena told them that he also has the blood to use them, so he can have them now. Aidan is the one who married Rowan and Aelin, they like 2 days ago in secret, and Rowan had known at this point as well that she was his mate, and he knows that it was a wise choice to use this whole thing to assemble the army. But Rowan refuses to accept her sacrifice, and he sends a message down their mating bond urging Aelin to continue fighting. And then they see all these boats coming over the horizon, and it's a boat that they don't recognise, but it's actually Galen Ashfire, who's the Crown Prince of Wendelin, and he shows them a letter that Aelin had sent him about returning the favour that she owed him at Mistwood, or he owed her at Mistwood for giving him the coordinates, and gave him the coordinates to this spot, and that he would never forget Evelyn Ashwire or Terrason. And so then hundreds of like all these like people come, like basically this is when like all the people are coming together. So we've got like all these like people coming. Ilias has come, giving his life debt, you know, from the silent assassins from the Red Desert, all these like old debts that she had. And Lysandra transforms into Aelin to greet them all, and she says that we're all going to go north, we're going to go to Terrason. She needs Rowan to go and get something. That's his cover for finding Aelin, even though she is pretending to be Aelin. And she tells other commanders that they have matters to discuss before they start their battle in Morath. Gavriel, Lorcan and Elodie all decide to go with Rowan to go and find wherever the hell Aelin is, and they think that Fenris will help protect Aelin and will try to drop clues about where they are. And then Aidan is going to stay with Aelin, really with Lysandra, and that Dorian is now going to fly north. So you can see, like, again, we're getting another splitting of all these people. Wasn't that a right little mouthful? I realise I've been speaking for like 50 minutes and I've still got to tell you the short section. So in short, what the hell happens? So with Elodie and Lorcan, we've got them escaping from wherever. We realise that Elodie's looking for Selena because she doesn't realise that Selena is actually Aelin and that she needs to give that rock. Meanwhile, Aelin, Lysandra and Aidan are going to meet with the Lords. The Lords reject her as queen, and they were like, nah mate, you ain't one of us. And she's like, but yes I am. And then we find out that the witches are being sent to like basically capture Dorian and destroy Rifthold. But they get there, Manon's like, oh, can't allow this to happen. So she kills a witch to let Dorian go. Rowan is also there to save Dorian, so he also kills some witches. Then they pop. They're going somewhere to safe place, but now Manon is being disciplined for her bad leadership, and this punishment is to get her second Astrid killed. But she does not like that, so she defies her grandmother and starts going on to battle with the grandmother, but now they're fleeing because that's not good. Meanwhile, Elodie and Lorcan have joined some carnival thing and are like on the run, but like trying to get secrets from each other, la la la. But then Elodie's uncle finds her, and then Lorcan saves her because apparently they're like in love now. And then she also finally tells that Aelin and Selena are the same people. At the same time, Rowan and Dorian are going to go to Skulls Bay, where they're going to try and convince Captain Rolfe to join them. But then the other two Fae, Gabrielle and Fenris, who are there to hunt down Lorcan and kill him, are also there. But then Gabrielle is actually Aidan's dad, so that's a whole thing. And then Selena comes, and obviously Selena and Rolfe got bad blood, but then it's revealed that Selena is actually Aelin, and then she does this terrible thing where she's like, oh, called all the Valg or whatever people over there, and it's like, oh, oopsies, you guys need help? Okay, I'm only gonna help you if you help me. Anyway, then they're gonna go and like have a little like war thing, and then they all meet up, as in Rowan, Dorian, Aelin, Lysandra, Aidan, Gabriel, Fenris, Elodie, Lorcan. They're all finally together. Gabriel and Fenris are going to kill Lorcan, but then Rowan finds a loophole. It's like, no, this is bad, we shouldn't do that. But then they found the mirror, that magic mirror, and then Manon and Aelin, that's her name, I'm blanking now, go into the mirror and realise the whole truth about what actually needs to happen. Meanwhile, on the outside, Maeve's ships have come, and they're all fighting each other. Luckily, Rowan's able to convince some of them to help on his side, but Maeve was never in the ship. She was up on the beach, and now she's got Elodie captured. So then Maeve and Aelin start having a little whole fighting situation. But the whole plan this whole time, Maeve's whole plan was to deplete Aelin's magic so that she could try and like capture her, which she has to do because Aelin surrenders to save Elodie. A bunch of blood oaths are broken, bunch of people are captured. It's a whole terrible, terrible thing. Elodie begs Manon to help, but Manon can't help because Aelin's got this whole secondary plan. She just seems to know so much stuff. She's got this whole secondary plan going on, which had my mind boggled. Skip back to that bit because that's a bit hard to explain. Yeah, and then Maeve leaves with Aelin before Rowan can get back to her, and that's when we find out that Rowan's actually married to Maeve. Not Maeve. Not flipping Maeve, to Aelin. And listen, I was reading that simultaneously to reading this. So when I tell you my mind was blown, first of all, my mind was blown many a time, but it was that one bit where all of the pieces came together and we realised that Aelin knew the whole time what she was doing, and that she told Lysandra, look sis, I need you to pretend to be me for essentially the rest of your life. And like made this whole plan about how they were going to have children to carry on the line. You can't be joking me. You've got to be joking me. Insanity. Listen, I fear that my summaries are getting longer, and also that they're not actually that helpful anymore. But this is a whole world. How do people think of this? Sarah, how are you thinking about this? Like, how have you put all that? My brain's hurting just thinking about it. How did she write that? How long did it take her to write that? These are the questions we need to ask. I'm getting a call. Goodbye.